Hey guys, it's Cooper C&T Designs making another video today. This one's going to be on HR137. And again, we still haven't got past January 4th yet. This is another bill from Sheila Jackson Lee. Let's see, let's go through this because I missed some of my notes on this. So I'm going to have to go through the bill just sitting here shooting the breeze about it and just giving my thoughts, which is what I'm doing normally, but normally I have a pile of notes that I try to go over. So, in honor of this bill, here is the poison bottle design. And understand, when these bills or these plasma cuts are going to be sold, they won't have like house bills on them. It'll just be this skull design on this RX bottle. Just something cool. I hate how the phone reverses everything, but that's the way it would look actually painted up. So, H-Bill 137, the poison bottle. And the reason I call this, or have this like a poison bottle, is this bill has to do with mental health and, well, going over one of her last bills where she wants everybody to have to go through a psychological examination just to own a firearm. This kind of dovetails in with that bill. Let's see, let's run through this real quick. Okay, so let's see, January 4th, 2021, Sheila Jackson Lee introduced the following bill, which was referred to the Committee on Energy and Commerce, because they have to use commerce to do anything. In addition to the Committee on the Judiciary, which she is on. Man, that just amazes me. Let's see. All right, this is to authorize funding to increase access to mental health care treatment to reduce gun violence. That actually sounds pretty decent until you remember the fact that she wanted anybody who had any sort of mental issues in the past, be it depression or whatever else, to be barred from owning a firearm. So again, if you took Xanax because you're going through a stressful situation, if you ever had a prescription for it, this act is part of this is they would want that reported to the NICS system and you would be excluded from owning firearms. If you've ever been on any sort of drugs for depression, anxiety, anything like that, it would exclude you. They want that reported to the NICS system to exclude you from owning firearms. So this isn't a, hey, let's do something to help people with their mental health bill. Let's get them back right and ready to go. And we're not going to do anything that would bar them from owning firearms if they have some sort of mental disturbance and then they're back healthy again. No, that's not what this is. Let's see. Let's run through this. Okay, going through section 1 of this bill. The short title is, let's see, this act may be cited as the Mental Health Access and Gun Violence Prevention Act of 2021. And let's go through the findings, because in the findings for this, they actually have to admit that most of what they call firearms deaths are actually suicides. So finding 1, suicide is the leading cause of gun-related deaths in America. I don't think you can argue that. Suicide is a very serious thing. If you have guns in the home, you could possibly use a gun to commit suicide. Then again, if you have knives in the home, you could use those to slit your wrists. So I don't really see how that comes into it. And we could go over statistics on suicides, the fact that more women try to commit suicide, but more men actually succeed. It's just crazy. And then we could look at places again like Japan that doesn't have any guns and they have a lot higher suicide rate than we do in America. So it's more proof that if someone doesn't have a gun, that they will find other ways to do it. They can jump off buildings, they could go get in front of a train, that kind of stuff happens. Okay, let's see. More than 60% of deaths by guns in this country are the result of an individual using these weapons as a means to commit suicide. So yes, you can take any year, subtract more than 60%, it's actually higher than that, of the actual what they call gun violence deaths in America. And we drop to roughly, I think, anywhere from 10 to 14,000 gun homicides in the United States, and some of those are justifiable homicides. So you can drop the actual murder rate down lower than that with firearms. Finding number 2, victims of domestic abuse are more likely to become victims of homicide when a gun is present. That's absolute horseshit. If someone is so violent that they are going to harm their spouse, harm their girlfriend, harm their boyfriend, it's not going to matter what tools they use. There are plenty of domestic abusers who use their bare hands to kill another person. The gun don't matter. If someone is that unstable to where they're willing to take the life of someone they professed to have love for, a gun or not, they are going to do it. Let's see, where was I at? Further, individuals who suffer from mental illness are more likely to be victims rather than perpetrators of violence. I'm going to take an unpopular position. I'm going to argue that point because I think it's almost like a 50-50 deal here. Because to get to the point where you want to do harm to someone, your spouse or others that you professed to care for, you're going through a mental disturbance. At that point, you are not mentally stable. You are going through a cycle of mental illness. You are not healthy mentally at that time. So yes, there are a lot of people that suffer from mental illnesses, things like depression, anxiety. Yeah, those people more than likely will never hurt somebody. It's just not in their nature. But other people suffering from mental illnesses do hurt people. And I think you absolutely have to be mentally ill to harm someone who is not a direct threat to you. Let's get down into this. Finding number 3, approximately 1 in 4 American adults have mental illness, and nearly half of all adults in America will develop at least one mental illness during their lifetime. Understand, this is a woman who wants anybody who suffered from any kind of mental disturbance to be banned from owning firearms. So right now, in that little blip, she's telling you that she wants, because read this, and nearly half of all adults in America will develop at least one mental illness during their lifetime. Referring back to her previous bill, she wants you to have to be interviewed by a state-approved psychologist. And if you show any signs of mental illness, they want you banned from owning firearms. So right there, she's telling you she wants half of American adults at minimum to be banned from owning firearms. This lady is insane. Let's go down. That was finding number 3. So finding number 4. Less than half of children and adults with diagnosed mental health problems receive treatment they need. I could almost agree with those numbers. Because if you take someone who is suffering from depression or things like that, and a lot of people just struggle with that on their own. It's not a sign of weakness that someone is going through depression or they have issues with anxiety. Those are completely natural things to have to go through sometimes. Plenty of people will go through times in their life where they're depressed, and that can be very serious, and a lot of people go through it untreated. Hell, I've been there. It doesn't mean, though, that you should be barred from owning firearms. We'll get into what she wants to put into this program to actually ban you from owning firearms, but that money could be much well used to actually get people the mental health counseling that they need and not ban them from owning firearms. Let's see. Okay, that was finding number 4. So then she gets into section number 3 of this bill. Authorization of funding to increase access to mental health care treatment to reduce gun violence. There is authorized to be appropriated by the Attorney General of the United States, the Secretary of Health and Human Services, and the Commissioner of Social Security, $500 million for the fiscal year 2022. So this is just for 2022, $500 million. To carry out programs and activities authorized by the provisions of law other than this act. Number 1, to increase access to mental health care treatment and services. And number 2, to encourage and assist the reporting of relevant disqualifying mental health information to the National Instant Background Check System. This bill has nothing to do with treating people for mental health. It is a poison bill to ban you from owning firearms if you have had any sort of treatment for mental health issues, if you've had taken any sort of medications for mental health issues. This whole $500 million right here is just simply to develop ways to report any of your mental health issues to the NICS system and bar you from owning firearms. That's what this whole bill is. I could start a company right now if I had $500 million to help people that are gun owners with mental health issues. With that amount of money, and especially that amount of money per year, I could start a hotline to where someone who owns firearms could call that hotline. I could have a plane ticket waiting on their door with a counselor the next day to get them to a facility where we could treat them or have them treated by a psychologist or psychiatrist, and get them back to mental wellness, and not affect their firearms rights. I could also, for that amount of money every damn year, could develop a system to where if someone's having mental health issues and they're a gun owner, we could turn those firearms over to a secure storage facility underneath their name to where we could store all of their guns in a safe, I'm sorry, my phone was doing something, to where we could store all of their firearms in a safe area where they could go and get treated, know that all their firearms were not going to be taken away, where they could go get their firearms when they were done with treatment, and go back to living a fruitful, healthy life. But this isn't that bill. This bill right here is going to basically take away your firearms rights. Anyway, guys, I'm going to stop it with that one right here. I'm getting a call that I got to take because I'm doing all this on my phone. Y'all be cool. We'll see you on the next one. I'm probably going to shoot one about some gun builds. So y'all take it easy, guys. Later.